part of mindful conversation, I consider Dharma talk to be a launching point of group reflection and conversation. So I think after meditation, it feels wonderful to be connected and also tuned in. I'm honored to be offering Dharma talk today. My intention for Dharma talk lately has been for Sunday or Tuesday. My intention has been empowerment through mindful conversation with the community. And what do I mean by empowerment through mindful conversation with the community? I mean that through open and mindful conversation on a difficult topic that can lead to beautiful and empowering experience. Let me qualify though, as long as we honor our boundaries and trust our gut feelings on what we want to share and what we do not want to share. So keep that in mind, that is my intention behind planning on Dharma talk on fear. And a quick plug-in is in that spirit of empowerment that I invite you, and I'll be reminding during the announcements, I'll be inviting you to the Open Leadership and Community meeting on Thursday, July 13th, and also a Death Cafe, which is mindful conversation on death, impermanence, and grieving experience that is on the 20th with our community. So please reflect on how connection can be empowering and also liberating. But enough about the future. The empowerment I'm hoping to generate today through my Dharma talk is building relationship with fear of the unknown. So I wanted to hold some space to reflect on fear of the unknown. What does that mean? What does it mean for you? So you can relate your personal experience of fear, or it might be the name of anxiety or reactionary actions, or paralyzing emotional reaction, overwhelm can be another name for fear. So briefly reflect which aspect or what kind of flavor of fear you may be dealing with as, say, you read the news or in your daily life, in what ways that the difficult friend visits. And if you have the headspace for it, if you'd like to go there, perhaps you could reflect on what is unknown for you and when you face an unknown situation. And I'll give a few examples. Say, even coming to a new meditation center for the first time could be an experience that's anxiety producing. It may not be. Looking for a new community, moving to a new apartment or different state, going through divorce, facing illness of loved ones, the idea of our own mortality, or losing someone that you love. All of this could be a situation that may generate fear. And see if you can take about 3 breaths, if any idea that comes to your mind, you can connect personally. Meditation. I invite myself and everyone to tune into SEAT, that refers to sensations, emotions, action urges, or thoughts. So tune into those to reflect on what flavor of fear do you often encounter, what sensations are associated with fear, anxiety, whether that be tingling sensations. If you're uncertain, that's okay too. What kind of emotional reaction that visits you, as often emotions are multifaceted rather than singular fear or anxiety. Is there a hint of sadness, anger? A of SVAT stands for action urges. Just to reflect on any fear, anxiety, inducing situation you encountered or idea that comes to your mind. Is there any action urges that comes to you that may be like, I want to think about something else, I want to grab my phone and read something else, or shifting the weights? Nothing wrong with them, just noticing. Lastly, T standing for thoughts. As you invite in those anxiety or fear inducing situation, what thoughts visit you? Sometimes it's a story too. Oh, this always happens, or I'm always afraid of blank, or predicting is often, for me, a powerful habit that keeps visiting me. As we reflect on these different aspects of our experience when we're inviting it here into our mental space, allow me to read a quote from The Places That Scare You by Pema Chödrön, A Guide to Fearlessness in Difficult Times. Cornell read it beautifully. I'll read it again. It's a beautiful passage to reflect again and again. Moving in the direction of nothing to hold on to is scary. We will not initially experience it as a thrilling, alive, wonderful way to be. How many of us feel ready to interrupt our habitual patterns, our almost instinctual ways of getting comfortable? However, when we catch a sense of groundlessness, despite our wishes to remain steady, open, and flexible, we hold on tight in a very habitual way. Been reflecting on this question and this quote for a while, and I'll be sharing and reflecting my own habitual way I hold on tight, as Pema would put it, and how I'm working on cultivating a healthy relationship with fear so I can embrace the true nature of the present moment. Always in flux, containing a lot of unknown. And to me, another useful quote to set the tone is Bob Dylan's well-known question. How does it feel? How does it feel to be on your own with no direction home, like a complete unknown, like a rolling stone? So in order to reflect on this question of how to build relationship with fear to be free, the unknown situation, difficult situation that I faced is losing my brother last year. And some might argue that some of the list of the events that occurred that I listed earlier, divorce, illness of the loved ones, losing loved ones, and so on, might be inherently difficult. But I think reflecting on my experience, what I realized is that there was a fear of unknown that made it also very much difficult. And because everybody's experience of their loss or difficult situation is different because your situation is uniquely changing differently. And say some people might get divorced and fear for their financial security. Some people might get divorced and fear that they will not have loving company again. Some might worry at the illness of the loved ones, how they can change the relationship within and dynamics within the family. So my 2 cents is that in those situations, we're encountering the unknown, and the groundlessness, as Pema puts it, is a big part of the fear. And it's kind of curious to reflect on what the quote shares, that is, it's a thrilling way to be. Fear is unknown can be a thrilling way to be. And when I was having a really hard time, that part didn't quite resonate, but as I reflect more, I realized that fear and unknown holds the key to freedom. And this is what I mean by that. So when my brother passed away unexpectedly, I realized that the fear was flooding into my life because I've started telling this story without realizing. And I think this is my habitual way of holding on. Because instead of thinking that this situation is truly a no situation, everything will change in an unforeseeable way. Instead of sitting with that, it was almost more comforting to predict and make predictions and retell the stories that I'm afraid of. Like, I need to move back to Korea to be with my parents. Like I need to change everything about my life. And when I give myself compassion for that, as facing such a drastic change in your life, story comes up, I believe, as a self-protective defense. But as the dust was settling in, I was starting to realize that, this is still habit energy operating in me. This attempt to control what is happening or make things predictable. This is what's going to happen. Somehow feels better than the groundlessness of I truly don't know what's going to happen next. And here I wanted to clarify a little bit of groundlessness, at least in the context of the book that I was quoting earlier, that groundlessness refers to what Pema calls as putting a rug out of under yourself, of removing all the notions again and again, and that realizing that there is no set way how things are unfolding. There's no preconceived idea, inherent ideas. So the groundlessness, if you were to sit with that word itself, it's a little unpleasant. Like we want to be in a room with no floor. But at the same time, there's this openness that is intended to be there. And I suspect that it's a word that she's translating because she's retelling some stories, teaching of Buddha to his students, and kept using the word groundlessness. So I think my habitual way of holding on was storytelling. And when meditation really helped me just to sit with emotions and experience and just mindfully noticing how the situation was unfolding, I realized that there was a kind of freedom that started visiting me of this clear-headedness away from the notions, ideas, such as the idea of how the kind of personality of my father and my mother were, that I expected them to react a certain way, and they showed me a very different side of themselves. And there's this idea of what kind of role I was I thought I had to play within my family. And that started evolving in that I no longer felt like a child in the family, but kind of a leader in my family and how to heal. So there was interesting openness that occurred with the groundlessness when such a intense experience kind of destroyed this pre-existing structure. So groundlessness can be a beautiful thing. But in order to reach the space of being able to gaze in there's no right way to breathe. There's no things don't always unfold the way you expect. And that the process also needed a lot of compassion and curiosity, and that I believe that through the mindfulness practice of compassionate self-talking, that really helped me as well. That once you gaze deep within and notice what kind of stories that you're telling yourself, what kind of restrictions that you imagine to be surrounded by, you can start talking to that part of you that, June, I guess you thought you have to just move back to Korea after all these years. Like, I send love to you that there was the only option that we saw at the time. And through that compassion practice, there's more unknown part of you and conditions in you that started revealing itself. And in that strange, but there was a kind of freedom that started entering my life that I thought I was a person who operated in a certain way. And I would have thought I would have reacted in a certain way, but I kept surprising myself as I was navigating this journey through mindful practice, compassion practice, and the curiosity of how interesting is different from what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so groundlessness, curiosity, compassion, and being mindful so that I'm not taken away with mindless way of reacting, whether that be with speech or action, or be paralyzed. I think this can be another less than mindful way of being, but needing time to process it. That's very clear. Through that, I think I found some freedom and healing. So that's kind of like my personal reflection on how fear originates from habitual energy and feeling of we can predict what could happen, all this preconceived notion. And in a paradoxical way, groundlessness can be freeing as long as you always bring in the compassion and bring in curiosity and continuous practice and community. Because it was Miguel, the previous center director, who also helped me to really connect to the community through his own open approach towards our mortal nature and his losses. So with all those ingredients together, there was my vision of freedom and healing has become more prominent when I reflect on my grieving process rather than the pain or fear in reaction to the loss. What I have to share in hopes to open the conversation or your personal reflection on your own fear of your own difficult experience, and your practice of perhaps noticing your preconceived notion of how things might be, and so on. And I wanted to also just invite us to reflect on a few more words and expressions before we enter sharing things. One is that the idea of fearlessness that often occurs in at least Buddhist scriptures that I've read, including the contemplative sitting. Language often operates in binary, that it often feels like it's easy to misunderstand each word with a good and bad binary operating underneath the surface. So I just wanted to caution all of us, including myself, that because we're assessing fearlessness in contemplation before sitting, or we are aiming to offer fearlessness to others in other meditation, does not mean fear is a bad thing. As I reflected earlier, sitting with the fear and really feeling the texture of the fear itself was necessary. And so I wanted to share that caution against misunderstanding fear as a impediment to mindfulness, or a sign that you're not mindful, or so on. Another one is I just wanted us to reflect on relationship with fear, and whether we like it or not, we already have a relationship with fear, and my invitation is that how do we adjust that? How do we essentially like build a home so spacious in your heart that you can invite difficult fear and still be able to be at home? So like my previous relationship with fear would be that I would pull out my phone and read something, or I would start cleaning and distract myself with different actions. So here I would love it if you could reflect with me, and if you are called to share your relationship with fear, that is, how do you respond to your fear? John Kabat-Zinn of mindfulness describes mindfulness to be finding a gap between the stimulus and action. And through this practice together, I believe we are creating that pause of, instead of going straight to my habitual solution to fear or difficult feelings, there's this moment to consider and make a judicious action that serves ourselves well. And I would like to, and like myself, to cultivate that relationship of spaciousness, relationship where there's compassion instead of pushing away the fear or judging the fear, being able to be present in a loving way. So that is my wish for all of us. Let's see. I will end my Dharma talk portion with this one more reflection. After the newsletter was sent out, if you haven't subscribed to it, please subscribe. There's a lot of good events that we promote through newsletter. One of the community members reached out to me asking, did you mean the title of your email to be Building Relationship with Fearlessness? Because don't we want to shoot for that, or so then building relationship with the fear? And then got me reflecting that what is fearlessness? and welcome your own definition too. I don't think it's the state of not feeling fear at all, or transcending. At least in my understanding, or my definition, I would define it fearlessness as being in a space where you meet the unknown. When you encounter a situation that induces anxiety or fear, and you don't go into your pathway of habitual reaction, habitual paralysis, and habitual thinking fight, flight, and freeze, habitual avoidance. If you can reach to that point of spaciousness where you can be present with our human experience of fear and difficult emotions, and not go straight to the, again, reactions, avoidance, and paralysis, or that we're cultivating our way towards it. I call that fearlessness. And I think we can all cultivate that. And if we end up, taking reactionary actions, succumb to paralysis, or succumb to avoidant behaviors, I just wanted to share to myself and all of us that it is a practice and awareness is the first step. So I believe we are all on the right path, and that we all cultivate our relationship with fear, difficult emotions, so we can share it with one another as a community. And with that wish and prayer, I'd like to bow out and open the floor for questions, comments, or your own reflections on your relationship with difficult emotions, including fear, and your own moment of facing the true unknown. Thank you again.